If you all would recall, there was a post-fight melee, UFC 229, this past October, where Conor McGregor went up against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib is undefeated now, having beaten Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor tapped out in the fourth round, lost that fight. Nurmagomedov is 27-0, goes up against Conor McGregor, but after beating Conor McGregor, he took out his mouthpiece, threw it in the direction of one of Conor McGregor's trainers, jumped over the octagon cage after the guy. If you remember, one of the reasons why Nurmagomedov was so fired up that Conor McGregor talked about his nation, his country, questioned his patriotism, insulted and discredited his family, along with Nurmagomedov himself, and it was just so personal that's what ultimately transpired. Well, the Nevada State Athletic Commission came down with a ruling today. They voted unanimously today to suspend both Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor for their respective roles in the post-fight melee. Nurmagomedov gets a 9-month suspension, and he's fined $500,000 of a disclosed $2 million purse. The suspension is dated retroactively to October 6th, the date of UFC 229, meaning he is eligible to return July 6th. So essentially, Nurmagomedov is basically being suspended for the next 6 months, along with Conor McGregor. Additionally, the Nevada State Athletic Commission offered to reduce the suspension to as little as 6 months if Nurmagomedov participates in a local anti-bullying campaign. McGregor received a suspension of 6 months and fined $50,000. He'll be eligible to return to competition as soon as this April, which means essentially Nurmagomedov is really getting 6 months. Conor McGregor is really getting 3 months. That says he's eligible to come back in April. That's the situation right there. A quote reading, getting this from the news desk of ESPN, reaction from Khabib's manager, Ali Abdulaziz. He says on a difference in fine amounts between Khabib and Conor, he says, quote, "I don't think it's fair. Khabib gets $500K and Conor only gets fined $50,000. I think it's BS." And he used the word, not the initials. He said on the length of the suspensions, he says, "I think that's fair. They'll both get 6 months. But for his teammates, it was too much." Forget the teammates here. Let me tell you where I stand. There is no way in hell that Conor McGregor should get a fine $10,000 less than Nurmagomedov. I love Conor McGregor. I think he's box office. I hope that he comes back. I don't think he'd beat Nurmagomedov in a rematch because Nurmagomedov is a monster, no doubt about it. But I would love it if he did beat him, because then it'd be a trilogy, and I would love for that to happen. I would just love it, okay? Having said all of that, let me be very, very clear, because the UFC and any kind of commissions that are out there are going to accept the ruling of the Nevada State Athletic Commission, as Ariel Helwani revealed. This is not some situation where you just get to leave Vegas and fight somewhere else, and they're not going to respect the Nevada State Athletic Commission's ruling. If they suspended you for 6 months, everybody's going to honor that, which means Nurmagomedov probably ain't fighting it before July, and Conor McGregor ain't fighting before April. My biggest issue is this. Conor McGregor should not get a fine 10 times less than Nurmagomedov. That's bogus. Because what Nurmagomedov is saying, provocation has to come into the equation. It's not a matter of whether you should fine him or not. It's not a matter of him saying he doesn't deserve to be fined. It's a matter of you saying that his behavior was so much worse than the instigator that was Conor McGregor. Now, I want to make sure that I'm very, very clear, because I know Dana White's listening, okay? And I want everybody to understand where I'm coming from, because I know there's UFC experts out there listening. The Daniel Cormiers of the world, the Rashad Evans, who I just spoke to the other day, the Michael Bisping and all of these guys. Love these guys. Let me be very, very clear. John Bones Jones is my absolute favorite. And I like Conor McGregor. I think he made mistakes. I think he needs to reel himself in behavior-wise and do more performing in the ring than he does talking outside of it. Because the reality of the situation is we saw you lose to Nate Diaz. We saw you lose the exhibition boxing match to Floyd Money Mayweather. We saw you get destroyed by Nurmagomedov, even though I applaud Conor McGregor for lasting as long as he did, because one could have easily stopped that fight in the second round. But I do think it's important to point this out. And I do think it's important because I don't think it's escapable. The reality is that there's something that should be said about being an instigator and a provocateur. Nurmagomedov didn't jump over the octagon cage and jump into the stands and fight some innocent patron who's not a licensed fighter. He went after the trainer, or one of the trainers of the strength and conditioning coach, I forgot who it was, of Conor McGregor. Somebody who I was told knows jiu-jitsu, for crying out loud. You talking that smack, he went after them. He didn't went after some harmless old person or some kid or whatever. This wasn't the second coming of Meta World Peace jumping into the stands at the Palace in Auburn Hills back in 2004. He went after somebody that's in Conor McGregor's camp who is also a fighter and a trainer, etc. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration, and maybe they did, which is why he didn't receive a lengthier suspension. My only point is, his fine shouldn't be 10 times larger than Conor McGregor. Because there's something to be said. I mean, everybody's got to say, you can't say some of the stuff that Conor McGregor said about his daddy, about Russia, his nation. You just can't do stuff like that. Everybody ain't gonna take it the same. So I think Conor McGregor deserved a heftier fine. Having said all of that, can I get a rematch, please? I mean, please, pretty please, we should go time. I would love to see a rematch. Even though Nurmagomedov should be favored and will probably win, because he focused on taking Conor McGregor to the ground. The reality is, Conor McGregor, despite a 2-year layoff, did last 4 rounds. He might be better prepared next time. I'm just saying.